Hello folks, I'm going to talk about the Holtzapffel abort because I've had various people ask me questions. One was, why did I take the infill out? I don't recommend people mess about with antique planes too much unless it's necessary. But I've been doing it for 40 years. So I've got some idea what I'm doing. And the reason I took this infill out was I wanted to first of all see if the screws were original. And they appeared to me as if they'd just unscrewed. If they hadn't have just unscrewed, I wouldn't have messed about with it. And they did, they just unscrew, and they are original. They've got these 18th century type cut screws, cheesehead and countersunk. I also wanted, in this instance, to see what the inside of the plane was like, in case there was any rust. I've taken them out in the past and there have been lots of rust, because I've done lots and lots of restoration on planes, so I've had to take the infills out. But I don't recommend anybody takes the infills out just to mess about and see what's inside. But I wanted to treat the inside and inspect it for rust, which I've now done. I've given it a coat. I normally dunk all my planes in linseed because the linseed penetrates either side and all round the infills. It sucks it through and helps to stop rust. But in this instance I've used peacock oil, which does the same thing. It's coated all the inside with a nice coating which will help to prevent rust in the future. Also, by taking the infill out, you do learn about things, how they were set out and that, a little bit. And there were some setting out lines. You can't see them, but they were there. But don't mess about with planes if it's not necessary. Right, somebody asked me how wide the mouth is. Well, I've already explained. A thin steel rule won't go through. I've tried to measure it. I only work in inches, and I would say it's just slightly, very slightly under 1/32 of an inch. And somebody said, well, you know, why do you need a fine mouth? Well, you need a fine mouth on a mitre plane to prevent it from, helping to prevent it from tearing the grain. And I've tried to explain, you can make a mouth on a mitre plane when you're joining two pieces of metal together as small as you want. You can make it so that it won't take, or it will take, a slither of paper. That's easily achievable, but the problem is you've got to get the iron to come out of the mouth, and if it was like a slither of a piece of paper, the iron wouldn't come out because of the low angle of the bed. And these beds vary, so some are higher, and the higher the bed is, the easier it is to get an iron to come out of the mouth, so you can have it narrower. But the lower the bed angle, the more difficult it is for the iron to protrude out of the bottom to make it work. Also, on this particular plane, although my eyesight's not as good as it was, the bed angle virtually goes to a feather edge, which means that if it wears a bit, the back of the mouth gets a bit wider. But bear in mind, this plane could be as old as 200 years old, between 100 and 200 years old. The mouth hasn't altered one little bit. But I generally leave a little tiny square upright on the rear of the mouth. I don't take it to an extreme feather edge. Which means the mouth has got to be, again, slightly wider for it to work if it was the same bed angle as one that goes to a feather edge. Right? I've now sharpened the iron quickly yesterday. Well, we tried to do videos yesterday and everything kept breaking down. We did about 6 times and it just wouldn't do it. So anyway, I have sharpened the iron, but not to perfection. Now, I don't know whether you can see, I've been rubbing the back and it's flat there, but not quite. Still needs some work on there to get it dead flat. It is sharp, mind you, and it does work, but need a little bit more work. Right, now somebody asked me why I don't think it's made by Towel. Right, I've got, over the years, I've had loads and loads of Mitre planes pass through my hands, and I've taken a lot of drawings of them, and they all vary, various makes. For instance, there's one by, who's that by? Gabriel. Interesting thing about this one, it had a cheesehead screw going through a metal plate. It might have been a wooden plate, I can't remember, to strengthen the thread. It also had some device at the front of it, I can't remember what that was. But I've taken the details of the bed angles, the overall dimensions, and usually, as near as I can see, where the dovetails were. Right, so that was a Gabriel. There's some of mine I've made. Some more of mine, my drawings. More of mine. More of mine. Now, this one here, I'll hold it up in a minute so Sarah can see it, is by Towel. Now, this particular plane, I've just noticed, well, yesterday we were looking at them, he's put a dovetail, no, wait a minute, he's put, he's not done a jointed mouth such as the normal tongue and groove. He's put a dovetail there instead, which means you don't have to do a joint, any type of joint whatsoever other than a butt joint, to form a mouth. Other plane makers have done that, but it's not very common, but I have seen a few over the years. But that, I think this is the only Towel one I've ever seen done like that. The as you pin it together, the body holds the two sole pieces clamped, and it doesn't move. It's an easier way of doing a mitered plane, a much easier way. You don't have to worry about a tongue groove joint.